Hey everyone, we're back. Me and Jared have been on assignment for most of June, so we haven't had any new episodes out, which we're sorry about. But today we're here to talk about, well, we start out talking about Coca Cola for some reason, and then we'll have our discussion of The Greatest Showman, which was recorded back in February, when the film had been out for about 6 weeks. Even now, it's playing, it's still playing, days and things in certain cinemas. It's had a towering run from a really stuttering start, and it's found an audience and is a phenomenon in its own right for some reason. So most of our information in this one will be from February, before the Oscars, before the other things. So you'll find some stuff that's a bit out of date. I've edited it a bit, so it's so it makes more sense. We ramble around it a lot. I had to take a lot out of this one. Which might reappear in later episodes, but I hope you enjoy it all, and I'll be back afterwards to wrap up.
Cool. So, what do you have some kind of drink that you're drinking?
I have a part of a thing of Ribena. I have here my Bath Rugby cup.
Maybe.
And I grabbed a beer on the way down, which is the Wooden Hand Brewery Truro Cornwall Session IPA Dab Hand. Hand IPA, which I will crack open in a wee bit if I want to be it. But having just woken up, at the moment I'm not quite there yet.
It doesn't have someone doing that annoying dabbing thing on there, does it? On the label.
No, it's just got like a little. It's almost like a little piece type deal. Can you see that?
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
Like a
little star,
like John Cena style. Yes.
Was it Phoenix Phil who posted a meme on Read It and Geek the other day where it was Hogan and The Rock in the foreground and someone else maybe, and John Cena standing in the background, and it was like, my time is coming. Your time is up, my time is now.
Yes. Yeah, really? No, yeah. It probably was because he's one of the few on there who will respond if you post something such as that.
Yes.
I don't know the last time I was on Facebook, so I can't.
Oh, fair enough.
I didn't see it, put it that way. But yes, I'm going to say it was. Well done, Phil. That was hilarious.
Marvellous. Marvellous.
I will find it, and I will like it. And you'll know that I've liked it, and that's when we did this. That's when we recorded this show.
Yeah. I have a new release. It is a ginger lime Diet Coke. They've kind of relaunched Diet Coke over here, and they've done a bunch of flavours, and this one is one of the few bearable ones.
What does it taste like?
It kind of tastes like ginger beer a little bit with a kind of twist of lime. It's actually pretty good.
So where does the Coca Cola element come into it?
It's brown.
Right. We had some drinks on Friday afternoon, and I was saving my booze for the evening because I was driving. And so I was like, oh, what shall I have? And they had this like horrible looking fruit fizz piss. And I was like, I don't want that. Then there was a bottle of Coke, and I was like, I could do with caffeine, I'm a bit tired. Yeah. So I had a small glass of Coke. Did nothing for me. No. It was just like, this tastes like metal and caramel. Like, I can't.
Regular Coke is just far too sugary. When we did the Mania episode, it was fine, but it was just like, I realized there's a reason I don't drink this stuff regularly anymore.
Yeah, no, I occasionally miss the idea of a Jack and Coke, but I can have one if I want one, kind of thing. I don't have a lot of caffeine anymore. But that didn't make me want one later that night, put it that way. So I had a gin and tonic. I had a giant gin and tonic on Friday night.
There you go.
Did they do, Red Bull cans?
Yeah.
Those long, thin, tall cans?
Yes.
Do they do Coke in those now? Because that's what we get. Diet Coke comes in one of those now.
That relaunch was, so if you buy a 12-pack, you get it in the regular stubby can. But if you go to anywhere, like a store or gas station or anywhere to buy one, they're all in those thin cans, and they just relaunched those like a couple of weeks ago. So
that's the first time those have been there, or?
Yes, they've got the regular Diet Coke in those cans, and then all the, I think, 4 or 5 different flavors in those as well.
Yeah.
Is there like a cherry, a mango, an orange, and then the ginger lime? I think that's it.
No.
Yeah, I get the feeling like a couple of them are going to last. They've done Diet Coke with lime for quite a long time, but to me it's always tasted like Diet Coke with a shot of fairy. Yeah, it's not good.
They should brand it like that with the fairy people.
They should.
I like to teach the world to sing. Sing with me. Harmony, harmony, harmony. I like to
Little baby on the can.
It can be
No
Dawn
teeth.
over here or something.
Oh yeah, it's Dawn Street. Yeah, fair idea. But yeah, the orange one always tasted like they had a bit of sick in it to me.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the orange one actually.
The vanilla one, I could just about tell it.
I've never been able to handle the vanilla Cokes. They just always taste like they've got some Wall's Blue Ribbon ice cream mixed into them a little bit to me.
That's what I liked about it. Like having a Coke float when you were a kid. You know,
fair
making
enough.
it yourself, dumping a load of ice cream into a Coke.
Okay.
Ah, Coke. This
Episode is brought to you by.
Ah, Coke. Wouldn't that be a refreshing kind of? Hang on a minute. Imagine just opening a Coke right now. Oh wow, that smells so beery. It's not Coke, by the way, folks. It's my Dab Hand Session IPA, which I wasn't going to break into, but it was worth it for that gag. Yeah, so that's from a multi-pack. You like that one enough to get a multi-pass, I think?
Yes, it's good. So yeah, got a kind of 12-pack of it. That was the only way I could find it actually, because they've got the thin cans, but it seems like they've only given certain flavors to certain places, and I could only find the mango and the cherry in the stores within the thin cans. So I wanted to try this, so I just bought a 12-pack.
Have you tried the mango?
Yes, it's disgusting.
I was about to say, is it as disgusting as it sounds? I can't imagine that would ever work.
It is. No.
So...
The problem with it is that, so back in the very early 90s, I think Birmingham... I think Birmingham was a test area for, like, Pepsi, because we'd occasionally get weird new flavors, and they did a Pepsi Tropical and a Pepsi Raspberry at one point. I only ever found it in one little store right by a nature preserve called Moseley Bog. But I remember
Moseley Bog.
Moseley Bog, that's what it's called.
Moseley Bog.
But the thing I remember about the flavor that they used in it was that it didn't seem to go away. It was like one of those artificial flavors that gets stuck. It's like oil that seeps into things, and it takes a long time to get. Like, you know, sometimes you get things on your fingers and you can wash your hands, and then you can still get a little bit of whiff of it, like garlic or onions or something. It's like that, and the mango flavor in this, yeah, probably, yeah.
You can't get rid of it. You get near that silage, that fermenting
really?
hay and straw shit. It's not good.
It's bad times.
Stay with you for ages.
The mango flavor in this is like that. It's kind of like I could smell it for a couple of days, and that really, really turned me off. It wasn't good at all. Yeah.
Not a fan. Not a fan. On the cans.
Yes.
Why I ask is, why do you think? Why?
Falling sales has to be my guess, because they've done they've done a fairly significant rebrand. Like, for some reason they rebranded Coke Zero. There was all this shit on Facebook where people were like, Coke Zero is being discontinued, and it was true, but all it was they were changing the name to Coca Cola Zero Sugar, which seems like far more effort. It seems like a lot of effort to go through a rebrand just to lengthen. That's not a word. Elongthen the name. To something. I mean, it must be driven by market research, surely, but it still seems kind of pointless.
A Coke Zero could be anything.
Oh yeah,
but a Coca-Cola Zero Sugar.
It's unambiguous.
You know what that is, and it's so much easier to order. You're like, "Hey, Bill, give me a Coca-Cola Zero Sugar," and Bill says, "What?" And you go, "Come over here, Bill. I need to order a drink." I'm not working today. All right, I'll ask the other guy. And then that's how that goes. Yeah,
give me Coca-Cola Zero Sugar.
What? We're out. Fuck.
You got any Coke Zeros? Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got a warehouse full of them.
Ultimately, it's one of the. It's a pointless rebranding effort as well, because everyone still calls it, and is probably going to still call it, Coke Zero, unless like there's some, in the most affectionate way, fresh off the boat immigrant who wants the Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Then
I came to the America for the Coca-Cola Zero Sugar.
Exactly. There's everyone's still going to call it Coke Zero just because it's easier to say, you know.
Wonder if they've done any of that here. I should check it out.
Yeah.
I know we still have all the zeros and whatnot.
And
you still got one right there.
Yeah, well, this is the Cherry Coke Zero, and I didn't notice what it was called before, but it's called Coca-Cola Cherry Zero now.
So that's still called Zero.
Well, yeah. I imagine at some point it'll be called Coca-Cola Cherry Zero Sugar, or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar with cherry, or some like.
Bill, are you on today? I'm still not working.
Marvelous. So, do you have an intro for the next film?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I can put something here, I suppose, in this awkward gap.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Absorbent and yellow and porous is he.
SpongeBob SquarePants!
If nautical nonsense be something you wish,
SpongeBob SquarePants!
then drop on the deck and flop like a fish.
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Ready? SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob.
Yes.
So that was the bit where. So that's the opening of the film. The next film that we're talking about is big Hollywood musical, The Greatest Showman, a story about P.T. Barnum starring Hugh Jackman. I kind of love that Hugh Jackman was introduced to us as Australian action guy Wolverine, Mr. Toughman, and now all he wants to do is sing and dance. I think that's marvelous.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I could happily watch him sing and dance from awkward angles for the rest of his career.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll get to it, but there's just something about his face that is kind of endearing. I don't but so this film opened, and I was a little bit not sold on it by the trailer already, and 20 seconds in, I was like, I am out.
Oh, really?
20 seconds in, like when it opens on the fantasy scene of him, yeah, it's like he's silhouetted and he gives that like kind of like little like
He's doing stuff with his cane.
right, exactly. He's behind the bleachers or whatever. I was like, I hate this.
Really? Okay.
Plus 30 seconds, totally in. Cynicism gone. I'm with it. It was like a roller coaster ride of like, I don't want to watch this, to like, all right, I can deal with this. This is good.
Right. Interesting. I wanted to see it because of the trailer.
Okay.
And then, I don't know that P.T. Barnum was a good guy. Kind of thing.
Right. I've seen a lot of that.
That became the whole narrative around the film's release.
Yeah.
Even though it seems to have done very well, regardless of what people generally and critics think. So I didn't see it until last week, which is 6 weeks into its run or more at this point, I think.
Yeah, about that.
And I really wish I had just gone and seen it before Christmas or before the New Year or whenever it came out.
Yeah, I think it was right around New Year.
It was essentially what I thought it was going to be from the trailer, but without the sort of Oscar buzz. Because when I saw the trailer, I thought, there's the first film I've seen a trailer for that looks like Oscar will give it some notice. And I'm legendarily bad at picking what Oscars are gonna go for.
I didn't pay attention to the Oscars at all this year. Did it do horribly at the Oscars?
Well, it hasn't happened yet, but it didn't get a single nomination. So.
Oh, okay. So I thought the Oscars already happened, so that shows you how little attention I'm paying to them.
End of this month, start of March, something like that. I don't think it got a single one, unless it got like best song or something. But I don't think it did.
I think this is another one where the critics are kind of slamming it, but it's still really, really selling.
But people are also slamming it, is the thing, and I think there's an audience for this film, and it isn't. Keeler Settler's going to perform at the Oscars apparently.
Oh, okay.
I've just found an article entitled "Keeler Settle to perform at Oscars 2018 as the Greatest Showman continues to make box office history."
It had an absolutely disastrous opening weekend, though. It's a slow burner. It did 8 million on its opening weekend. 8.
Shit, that is not good.
No,
here we are.
That's 10%, considering its production budget was 84 million.
That's what this article in the Inquisitor with just an R at the end is saying. Musical drama is now a total hit after 126 million it's made so far, apparently. But yeah, this is my interesting fact about it. It is apparently the only film in history to go to the number one spot again in its 6th week. It is the number one movie in the UK at this moment.
Wow.
After having dropped, it's back at number one.
Weird. I wonder what precipitated the return.
Well, I really went on to IMAX screens because I saw it in IMAX last week, which probably helps with the ticket prices.
Sure.
But so it's probably that's definitely got to be a part of it because the tickets are costing a bit more, and if there's a big return business, then that's part of it. But I think based on what I've heard that there is an audience for this, and it's just a touch younger and doesn't care about all the bullshit.
Okay.
Really. So
because
I think
I
people
was, I think I was
going.
hypothesizing with you a little bit I was wondering if it had captured the Mamma Mia audience almost. Because I have a very distinct image of us going to see something at View in Worcester, and just being this sea of middle-aged white people going into Mamma Mia. And I just have a very specific image of that audience, and I was wondering if it was that, and we kind of discussed that a little bit back and forth when we were talking about you going to see it. But one of the things I noticed in the screenings that I went to was that there was a significant number of, I'd say, late teenage girls, young women, who were in there for it, and they seem to really be digging it.
I would say, from what I've heard, that is the case. That it's a lot of teen and early 20s sort of school age, kind of school and college people. I don't know about specifically women, but I guess it might make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly my screening on Tuesday night or Wednesday night certainly wasn't the busiest, but it wasn't empty either.
I went,
and I'll get to that because that's audience stuff.
Okay, I went maybe 2 weeks into its run. I think it was maybe 10 days, and it was rammed. I had a hard time getting tickets.
Really?
Yeah. I had to kind of do a compromise showtime because it was sold out. Even like evening showings, I looked at like a 9:30, and there were like 3-4 seats up the front and on the sides. It was really full, and that's in a theater that seats maybe 80 because it's the one with the luxury recliners. It's not like a giant. And the cinema that I go to is all the luxury recliners in all of the theaters. So
shit point 6.
Not shit point 6. The AMC. So that might not be a good judge of how full the theaters really were, but it seemed to me that it's been doing shockingly well, surprising for me.
Boffo business.
That, yes.
Yeah, it's been doing boffo, but no, I think it's good, and I'm glad. It's an interesting. I thought about it. I described it. I didn't describe it to anyone but myself while I was thinking about it as a bit of a faith restorer. Weirdly,
interesting.
And the fact that people are going to see it, and the fact that, like, with all the negativity swirling around some of the films that are out at the moment, that people just are going and seeing it, and it's gaining this kind of weird groundswell from itself. Not to say it's perfect; it's really not.
No.
But it's really interesting to see that it's this huge sort of slow burn success story, and I think it's unique for the time it's come out, though, because I think if this was an early summer movie or something, it'd probably have its 2 weeks and get ditched.
Probably.
It's because it's January and because there's not as much sort of stuff vying for screen space that it's had a chance to
find its audience.
Yeah, find some legs.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. It was thrown into that kind of like negative void of like where films go to die that they don't have much faith in. That in terms of when it was released in the year. So yeah, I suppose that could be part of its success. I wonder how they felt about that, because I think it's an open secret that's kind of the time of year when films that studios have less faith in tend to be released. But
it was in the Christmas slot though, wasn't it? So it probably they probably thought it would make its money.
Yeah, that's true.
Big style early and then go away. The fact that it's allowed to play through all of January and now a lot of February.
December 20th. Yeah, never mind. I remember it coming out later than that.
No, I was thinking because it was. I think both that and Downsizing were technically last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and it has gained this level of traction because there's not as much vying for it, and because people are going to see it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the fact that it's now on the cinema I went to last night had it on 2 different screens. Regular and IMAX.
Yes.
And that doesn't usually happen this late in a run, unless there's literally nothing else.
No, that's true. Yeah.
So, or it's doing boffo business.
Yes, indeed. Boffo business. Where you picked up this term?
Business. I don't know. It's just boffo, isn't it? As a thing. It is doing boffo business.
It is doing boffo business. Yes, absolutely.
Still trying to find out if it's got Oscar noms. I don't think it has.
No. So performance-wise, like getting into the content of it.
Yeah, let's do.
I thought that. So I had a bit of a hard time with when Hugh Jackman was in Les Mis. I found him to not be the best singer. He could hold a tune, but he struggled sometimes. and a couple of the higher notes where he just sounded a little bit nasally and just not great. But I think the approach to filming a musical that they took with this was more traditional. I know with Les Mis they shot all of the singing performances were shot on set, and they used the audio from on set. Whereas this was clearly they recorded it in a studio and they lip synced mimes.
Yeah, I was about to say some of it. I don't think was the people playing the roles at all.
Yes, particularly the smaller chap. That's not his voice.
Oh, Tom Thumb, yeah. None of that. There was nothing talking
No
about Fred
way.
Claus comparisons. Like, what the hell was going on with Tom Thumb?
I don't know.
Some of the time he seemed to just be a CG creation. Some of the
Yeah.
time he seemed to be a boy.
Yeah.
And then he would speak and he'd have this, like, hey, how are you?
It's like
kind of voice.
comedy voice, yeah.
And it didn't even seem close to his lip movements. And I was
No.
just like, what is happening with Tom Thumb? And it has got, it's got an original score nomination.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, not original score, sorry, original song for This Is Me. And I haven't actually seen 3 of the other films it's up against. I've only seen Coco. So between Coco and Greatest Showman, I'd have to say that Greatest Showman's probably going to get it.
And the Oscar goes to Mexico, Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez for Remember Me. Coco.
And I'm legendarily bad at thinking what Oscars are going to go for.
The problem that I had performance-wise was, I suppose, it wasn't necessarily down to the performers. It was down to how they portrayed people from a historical perspective performing music in a modern style. And the bit that really sticks out to me is, crud, what was the character's name who was the famous opera singer?
Jenny Lind.
Jenny Lind. When she's doing her big performance.
Worcester's own Jenny Lind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's buried up near where you used to live. Well, she's Swedish by rights, but she's buried up near where you used to live.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, she ended her life in the Malmans.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
So you've been in her chapel. Her chapel was where we shot Itawari.
Oh, is that right? Okay, very cool.
Yeah. Jenny Lind Chapel is a what was part of the hospital here.
Yeah. Did they preserve that building in the end? Didn't they?
Yeah, but the
chapel.
The chapel and everything around it, the back part of it, the ward and everything that went.
Yeah.
But most of that big historic building is still there.
Good. Glad to hear it. So that song that she sings, I have a hard time with it anyway. Oddly, it's funny. I've got 2 connections to that because it was all over the local rags. That the woman who sings that song is actually from Utah.
Okay.
But so. It's how does the song go? There's like a never, never, never repeated.
We are never, ever, ever getting back together. Never, never.
Yeah. Never. And the way she kind of performs with that, she kind of does like a body twitch, and it just seemed so completely wrong for the setting. And that was kind of what took me out of it, was this contrast between the modern musical style and the historical setting. And I understand why they did that, because clearly it's gonna survive and people want to buy the soundtrack. But if it was all kind of like vaudeville type music, I don't think it would have been anywhere near as successful. So I completely understand why they've done it, and I don't begrudge them for doing it, but it did take me out of it just a tad.
Interesting. Never Enough was the first time during the film where I cried.
Oh, okay. Maybe the problem was that I went to the bathroom right before that scene started and came in halfway through it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but it made me tear up a couple times as well. There were a few moments that were like that for me, definitely.
Yeah, I thought it's weird because it's very much not a perfect film, and a lot of it is just pop music, which is fine.
Yeah.
People are like, oh yeah, it's all lacking in substance or whatever. It's like, so what should it have done? Where should it have gone? Kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And that would really interest me to know on just without them hopefully taking that as some sort of wild criticism of their lack of enjoyment of the film, just to know what they think it should have done.
Yeah,
then
I agree.
I can steal those ideas and make better films.
Right, and that's kind of why I'm saying that I don't begrudge the film for doing what it did, because I think it was appropriate. It took me out of it just a little bit.
Okay.
Not enough to spoil my enjoyment of it at all. not expecting to enjoy it at all, and kind of just thinking, I'll watch it just cause.
Okay.
But ended up actually really quite enjoying it, and it was, the soundtrack stuck with me. Some of the songs have stuck in my head and that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed the relationship between the. I didn't realize until the end credits that it was Zac Efron and Zendaya, I believe is how you pronounce her name, who was in Spider-Man.
Look back at our Spider-Man review of us getting it wrong. Whenever we decided it was Zendaya, or whatever it was.
I thought that their relationship and kind of the discussion around race and social faux pas and norms was interesting. I thought that was an interesting theme running throughout the film, as to be expected, given the fact that he was rounding up the freaks in inverted commas to perform, and then also defying the social norms of the time himself by coming from being nothing to then living on the same street as his wife's parents, who were clearly from old money. I enjoyed those themes that it tackled. They weren't delved into super deep, but it was good the way it was handled. It was presented nicely, I thought. Even if it's ahistorical, which I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I don't think any of that happened.
No,
like 5% of it happened, and not the way not the way you think, or whatever that's a quote from.
Maybe a quarter of it happened, and not like this.
And I don't think Barnum was a champion of the marginalized and the trodden down in any way, really.
No, I think it was Hugh Jackman talking about it on something, and so he did say, or somebody said, if it wasn't him, that Tom Thumb did live with him until the day he died.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I'm not going to stand up for him or whatever, and I think that's again why a lot of people have gone at it. But it's is it a print the legend, or is it kind of like, is it too soon to do this, or is it? And I think that's why people are getting angry, because you're in an era now where you kind of have, Trumpy baby in the White House being all like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And so I guess people extrapolate and go like, how long till they make a nice Trumpy baby film?
Yeah, I suppose.
And is that, if we've done that now with this guy and turned him into some sort of savior of to whatever. So I get the argument. Sure,
me too.
But as a piece of entertainment taken on its own merits, like, I don't know would it have been better if it was about fictional,
right, if it wasn't just P.T. Barnum, if it was just a guy, yeah.
Yeah, L.T. Snarnham.
Yeah.
And his sideshow museum.
Bestest thing on the planet.
Yeah. Would that have been a better film?
I don't know.
Does it matter that they've, And I think that's why probably the younger audience gravitate towards it, because it's just kind of like, I don't give a shit, that stuff's old.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just like, this has got good songs. And Zac Efron, he's a hottie, or whatever people say. He is Bay.
He is Bay.
He is Bay. That's what they say.
He's so
like, okay,
on
I'm going to
fleek.
go and see it. Yeah, he's on fleek, and he is Bay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Zendaya is just like, I don't know what they use for.
She's the
queen.
She's the nozzle.
Yeah.
Zendaya
is the nozzle, and he is Bay. And then they'll be like, "Oh, what'd you make of Hugh Jackman? Oh, he's old." Whatever. I don't know what people say these days.
Yeah.
There is one shot in this, and I say about Hugh Jackman from weird angles. There's one shot where I couldn't find Hugh Jackman in the shot.
Oh yeah.
And the person it was pointing at, to me, looked like Squidward. And I realised that was Hugh Jackman. And it was just the way they'd shot him from a slightly weird angle.
Just looked
His
wrong.
nose looked massive, and he just looked like Squidward to me. And I was like, oh, that's him there.
That's amazing.
I had to find that shot. It's just this, I don't know, something about the lens choice or something about the way he was holding his face. He just looked a bit like...
There is one shot that I really liked, and I mentioned the kind of liking Hugh Jackman's face. After the place burns down, he's just sat on the steps, and he kind of moves his face around a little bit, and his crow's feet have no soot in them, but everything else does. I loved that.
Yeah, when the critic comes and sits next to him,
yeah,
and he untenses his face, and it's all No, I noticed that too, especially on IMAX.
That was pretty good.
The critic character people have gone at as well. I think film critics tend to dislike any film that has a critic character, especially if it's an audience surrogate.
Bit too close to home.
Probably.
Yeah.
They went at Lady in the Water for the same thing, and I kind of like that one too.
Oh, okay.
Just where it's kind of like you, sir, are charlatan, and you don't get it. And then he's, like, no, you don't get it. It's like, well, there was that whole thing, wasn't there, where it's like the smiles are real or whatever.
Yeah.
You're
The show might not be real,
lies.
but the smiles are. Yeah.
And that's fine. Again, I don't know. It's melodrama. What do you expect? Like,
Right.
what do you want it to be? What do you want from a musical, if not songs and melodrama and lightness and fun?
Sure.
And that's what this was for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of feel the same way about. I think it's good that there's a conversation around what the real P.T. Barnum was like, but I kind of feel the same way about that. In that it's like, well, do you really want to see him like knocking out a black woman with booze and then removing her teeth forcibly while she's asleep? I mean, that's something he really did. Do you really want to see that in a film?
And did he do that?
Yeah.
Why?
He needed a toothless black person for something, like it was like the human gorilla, something horrible, really unpleasant. So he knocked her out with booze and I don't know, ether and removed her teeth with pliers while she's asleep.
Christ.
Like he did some really horrible stuff. But is that what you want from your joyous Hugh Jackman musical? That's not what I want.
I kind of do now.
just hard cuts from like Zendaya and Zac Efron having their like romantic swing song to
Pulls back, the song's echoing, and then in the back room he's there just like smashing teeth.
Yeah.
Can we have the worst showman now? Can he do
the worstest showman?
The 18 rated. Talking about that, actually, this is completely random, slightly off topic thing. But when the Bastard Squad come in, they're going to burn the place down, and he goes, "You and your spook," and I was like, "Whoa!" So we can get away with spook in a PG now.
Was it a PG?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
I was a bit kind of like, wow, okay, so there's levels now to this, racial slurs, like what we can use at what level. I was just kind of like, that's interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, not to be overly cynical about it, but the racing system is all bullshit and arbitrary as it is. So at least here, I don't know about the BBFC so much, but it seems like movies can get by with, some really horrific violence, but they show one nipple and it's an R. They're pretty inconsistent as far as that sort of thing goes.
The MPAA has historically got massive issues.
Yes.
And even when they've been repeatedly exposed, they don't seem to change them. Weirdly, Warner Brothers can always get away with more, and I don't know why.
They got some pictures.
What? Yeah,
they got some pictures.
Jack Valenti with all his teeth. Get them smashed out by Hugh Jackman. Over here, I mean, the rules have always been quite,
well codified.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for all my young man, like right on kind of like anti censorship shit. I mean, the BBFC does a good job nowadays. When I couldn't watch The Exorcist whenever I wanted, that made me angry.
That's fair.
And Cannibal Ferox was cut and stuff like that, which I probably wouldn't really want to sit down and watch now anyway. But since the sort of late 90s, I think the BBFC's become very
good.
and it's very well defined what its rules are. But for something like that to get through in a PG was just kind of like
a little surprising.
Okay, I'd be interested to see the notes on that if it got picked up on.
Yeah, maybe they just missed it.
Could be.
Doesn't seem like the kind of thing that they would miss, though.
No.
They weren't intending with Greatest Showman. They weren't intending to make a historical drama. It was supposed to be kind of like a bright and sunny celebration of some interesting piece of history. And it's kind of interesting that it came around now as well, because I don't know. I found this out by listening to Penn Jillette's podcast, Penn Sunday School. But what was left of Barnum and Bailey now closed. It was Ringling Brothers. The name was really kind of innocuous. What's the word I'm looking for? It was really hard to pronounce because they had like
Coca Cola Zero Sugar.
It was like Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey's Greatest Show on Earth, but the ands and ampersands were all in like funny places.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty funny.
Do you remember the Barnum musical that was around when we were young?
No. Who was in that? What was that?
Your man from Some Mothers Do Have 'Em in the version I saw.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the until it closed on May 21st, 2017, it was known as Ringling Brothers and the word "and" Barnum ampersand Bailey Circus, and that was how you had to spell it.
That's weird.
Yeah.
The original musical opened in 1980. The West End one was 81, which would have been the one I saw video of, I suppose. And so on and so forth.
Okay, interesting. No,
Michael Crawford with the original London cast.
No,
Brian Connolly in the UK tour cast. Ugh.
Brian Connolly.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh wow, Laura
It's
Pitt
a
Pulford.
puppy. Wasn't that his catchphrase?
Certainly was.
Oof. Yeah, there's a whole field of like Brian Connolly, Les Dennis, and Jim Davidson all seem to fall into the same category for me.
Wow, it was Jim Dale and Glenn Close in the original version in the US. That's a cast, isn't it?
That really is a cast, yeah. Good old Jim Dale.
Various versions over the years, but the most recent one, 2017 London Revival. Don't remember ever seeing about that. Marcus Brigstock and Laura Pitt Pulford. Laura Pitt Pulford's good. I've seen her.
Marcus Brigstock?
Well, I can kind of see him doing it.
The snarky guy from Radio 4?
Yeah.
Everything's crap. You're wrong. Everything sucks. I hate you. I hate everything. I could never get on board with him. I may not have shared his political views, but I couldn't get on board with the fact that he seemed to make a career out of sneering.
No, I agree.
And whatever your
fan of
political
him.
views, I just couldn't stand the sneering. But no, I mean, good for him if he's kind of diversified to not just sneering on the news quiz every week.
Played from 25th of November. Oh, it must still be on now to 3rd of March 2018. I've never seen sign of this in any of the times I've been in London in the last 6 months. Huh. So that's interesting. But the original one ran from, or the London one rather, ran from 81 until. Actually, it doesn't have an end date, but it was recorded for the BBC in 1986, which is probably the version I saw of it.
Okay.
So, it ended in 86, so I guess the BBC filmed it at the end of its run. I guess they wouldn't have let them do it before then, I suppose.
Probably not. No, that's curious. I didn't know that existed, quite frankly. Or whether any inspiration was drawn from it.
I know it was. It very much wasn't. Put it that way. None of the songs, none of the things. This was all very original.
Sure. No, I wasn't thinking like the actual music and stuff, but maybe kind of like the idea of kind of having a story around Barnum and Bailey's the formation, just whether there was any kind of story elements drawn, which I suppose are somewhat historical rather than being drawn from something else, more likely.
Yeah, well, given that this was Hugh Jackman's thing, I should think he was just kind of like, I'm going to do the bits I like about him. Wasn't a bad bloke.
That's a good Hugh Jackman. Did he write it?
No, he wouldn't have written it. I think because it's been coming for something like 12 years or something.
Was it really? Wow.
He's wanted to do it since he was, a star the first time round.
Huh, good for him. Glad they finally got to do it and it's successful.
I don't know when they started sort of coming up with the actual... I mean, the story, I should think, has been through a bunch of hands. I know, it's actually, I meant to look this up. Bill Condon was a credited writer on it, who I quite rate, and I think all the elements I responded to probably come from him.
Okay.
Let me just quickly check.
Doesn't he used to be the chief police officer?
No. No, he was the... Bill Condon was the man... Well, he directed various bits and pieces, but that weren't great. He did like the Candyman sequel and stuff like that. But where I arrived at him was Gods and Monsters, the James Whale film.
I remember the name. I don't think I ever saw it.
It's great.
Okay.
It was one of those ones I rented when I was working at Blockbuster.
Oh wow, that long ago.
Yeah, very briefly. It was a 99 film.
Oh,
or
wow.
98 according to this. Huh. And I rented it on video, and I was just bowled over by it. And so ever since then, anything he's been involved in, I've usually kept an eye on, which includes like the Twilight sequels he did and stuff like that. So he's quite good at melodrama.
Which
and I would think
Twilight
that some
sequels
of the
did he do?
He did the last two.
The last two, because I've seen the first one on a plane and the last one. Those are the only ones I've seen, and the last one I enjoyed far more than I expected to. And I thought it was just because of Martin, that laugh, yeah. And Pudgy Dakota Fanning, but
Martin
Chuzzlewit. What's his name? Sheen. I want to say Martin Sheen, but I know that's not right. That's Charlie Sheen's dad.
Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen. There you go. That's why I was getting it wrong.
There you go.
His first name wrong.
Yeah, he directed Beauty and the Beast last year.
Oh, okay.
And he also he came back into my top 10 with his another film with Ian McKellen, who was in Gods and Monsters, by the way, played James Whale in Gods and Monsters.
Oh, great.
With Mr. Holmes in 2015, where he played an aging Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay. I remember seeing the trailers for that, and it was one of those trailers that popped up before. So I don't know if this happens in the UK. It didn't when I last saw a film there, but every movie chain here has like a pre-show that they show now. and it's generally like stuff from TV or ads for new products. I don't know why my arms like that. It was the screen. It was all up on the screen. But then they'll sometimes have like an extended, not necessarily behind the scenes, but like look at a film that's coming up. And I think that was in one of those, and it was like coming to select theaters in, it didn't get, I don't think it got a full release, but I seem to have a memory of it doing that.
Yeah, we still don't have that. I mean, you get the 10 minutes before you get the trailers of just bullshit.
Just ads.
Most of the time, if you get into it's not like over there where you'll walk in and there'll always be something projected on the screen. It'll just be the screen sat there if you're there early. I'm never there early anymore, thinking about it. I don't know the last time I got to a film early. I'm usually there sometime in the ads before it gets to the trailers. That's usually about my point to arrive.
You still stay to the end, though, right?
Racing from something.
You still stay all the way to the end, though, right?
Most of the time, yeah. Almost all the time, in fact.
I do, unless I have a bathroom emergency and I've like been holding it, then that's that. I will stay to the end. That's a habit I picked up from you. I never did that before we started going to films together. But I like it. I like it too. Yeah, I like the music, and I also kind of I've retconned a reason for it to myself. That it kind of feels like a show of respect to all the people involved. Every name on there, they did some hard work that helped with this, and their name deserves to be at least thrown past my eyes, even if I don't read it.
Yeah, while I'm replying to text messages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Listen to the music. Yeah, no, I usually stay till the end. I have to admit. No, but I'll usually, if they're, the poor teenagers who've got to wipe up all the bullshit.
I'll get out of their way. Yeah.
I hang around. I'll just be like, "Don't worry about me. Just fucking do whatever you got to do."
Mm-hmm.
So, but I usually go to films where they're dead anyway most of the time, so it's not too much of an issue. The amount of times no one walks in on me, and I could just probably stay in there for the next one.
Nice.
So, anyway, I tell you the one thing. There are a lot of moments in this film where they bugger up big, easy things, just cuts and
oh, really? Okay.
Transitions and things between moments, and I'm just kind of like, did something get cut, or did they run out of money, or like what happened there? Like, there's a bunch of that, but then they get these perfect little moments, right?
Okay, interesting.
Like stupid little visual shit. Yeah, you just be kind of like, that's really delicately like hit a nail on the head, like. Somehow, the only one I can think of, which is probably the broadest one, is where the mother and the daughters are having fun when he's away on tour.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, the camera's just with them like that, and then it sort of tilts down. Well, it's not tilt, it's a move. So the camera moves down on the table, and they're having fun, and you just see this head of the table chair just empty.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's kind of like, it's good, but she knows he's not there, and I think that leads into her song where he's there as a ghost or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Before he comes back after the infidelity stuff breaks.
Yes.
But there's a lot of little moments like that, and it is melodrama, and I like melodrama. But I think a lot of it's kind of deftly handled. But then there are big moments that just duff. You're just kind of like awkward.
Yeah, and there were a few bits that I was a little bit surprised at where when he's on the train going away, it kind of felt like one of those cardboard cutout moments that you get from a Wes Anderson movie in terms of just the visual style of it. And
was that when he ran for the train?
I think so, yeah. I don't quite recall. It's been a few weeks, but I remember there was just a few moments where I was like, this looks like one of those, and maybe it was intentional. This looks like one of those old Hollywood musicals that's clearly shot on a set.
Yeah.
And they're not making any effort to make it not look like a set. Like, some of the stuff in Singing in the Rain or White Christmas where there's a flat behind them and clearly it's a flat and no one really cares that it's a flat, but it looks like one nonetheless. And there were a few moments like that where I was like, is this intentional or is this just, we built a set and it looks what it looks like?
No, I would agree on that. There are moments where they go for abstract, I think. So they'll just have smoke and parts of things. Sure. They clearly did build some degree of sets.
Oh, definitely,
but that bit where they're running, the bit where he's running for the train, he runs down the streets they built, and then maybe he runs past something real, and then there's a bit where it just kind of fudges a moment, and he grabs a rail, and then he's suddenly on a CGI train, but the CGI train is not good.
No.
And it goes into these weird kind of PS1 level hills.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that another moment where they just kind of run out of time or money?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it didn't quite work as a moment, but like it didn't matter by that point. I was already sold on it anyway.
And maybe that was their perspective on it, was like, yeah, it doesn't look the best, but it's not consequential, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it, kid. There'll be something else along in a minute. They won't notice.
Yeah, we'll start singing a song in a minute. No one will remember this. Except picky bitches who have a podcast on the internet.
Yeah. Those picky internet podcast bitches. But no, like I said, there's a lot of little moments in it I liked, and it really got me in different moments. I get the questionability of the content and why in the era of Trump you can't really try and retcon a character who apparently smashed some lady's teeth out into being a kind of, he was a good guy kind of thing,
Right.
So I get all that, but then I don't know, because I can't argue, because it's difficult to argue for this without sounding like you're arguing for the other people as well, because it can be seen as overtly political. But I don't think it does down the message of, like, even in there are moments where he turns on them.
Yes. Yeah, when he's like
And,
swept up in his own fame.
Yeah, and he becomes a bit of a bad bloke all the same. But that only spurs them on to
win him back almost.
Well, both win him back and also assert even more of their own self-confidence.
Sure, yeah.
Like,
It's
isn't
not like
that
it's
the
tries
lead-in
them-
for This Is Me, actually?
Yeah.
This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me.
I know I'm having champagne, fuck off.
Yeah, I think is it, or it's for one of the songs definitely. I don't know if it's "This Is Me." I thought that came earlier in the film, but I could be wrong.
I can't remember now.
But anyway, yeah, because I think there's the bit at the end, isn't there, where they're in the bar and he's kind of lost everything, and that's when they kind of come back together almost.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's an interesting film because I feel like it's, even though it's ahistorical and ignores a great swathe of what P.T. Barnum did, the bad things that he did, I still think overall it's kind of sending out a fairly good message of inclusion and acceptance. So it's in an odd place.
But if you're the person who wants to hear those messages and you are given to being very critical of the way they're delivered and what you want from them, I can see how this is also a tinder dry stack waiting to go up in flames.
True, but is it after those people, or is it after the people who don't think that way already, or who are on the fence, or haven't thought about the notion of kind of accepting people for who they are? I think it's not going for kind of confirmation bias in a way by presenting something that's very honest and truthful that will play into the narrative of those people who already think about this stuff. I think it's kind of going after the more general, less thinking public who might kind of have not thought about let's just kind of like people for who they are and not care about what they look like or what background they're from. It's a question. I'm not saying that is what it's doing, but it's kind of a thought about it.
I don't think, other than the let's be nice to everyone, isn't life great kind of approach to it, I'm not sure that it was that considered. I think the fact that it's come out in the era of a lot of these things is unfortunately to its detriment in a way.
Yeah,
I don't think
right.
you would be asking, if we weren't in the hashtag Me Too and a lot of those kind of things right now. I don't think we're in a kind of era of such activism that I think if it had come out in like 2005, I don't think you'd be asking the same questions of it.
No, probably not. No, you're right.
And I wonder how it'll be remembered, if it's remembered, or whether it will just be a kind of touchstone for a generation and that'll be it.
Yeah, what I kind of thought about it as well a little bit, and this goes back to the whole having contemporary musical styles in it, is are we going to look back on this in 20 years and be like, oh, look, it's Starlight Express from the 2010s, and it's just it's gonna age absolutely horribly because of the musical style that's so contemporary. I don't know.
That PS1 train isn't going to age particularly well.
This is true, yeah, but it's hard to tell with those sorts of things when you're in the moments as to how badly they're going to age. Because I remember a distinct moment in my childhood in the mid 90s, and seeing like things from the 80s and the 70s and 60s, and being like, oh, things look so different than the 80s and 70s and 60s had very definite styles, and thinking, but the 90s has no style, so it's going to be forever.
Yeah,
and I look back and I'm like, oh, like center parted, like shaved under haircuts and bright neon colors and all that kind of shit, and it's like, oh man, really shitty suits. Yeah, with like t-shirts underneath and stuff, and I'm like, wow, it really did have a style you just couldn't see at that time. And that kind of taught me a lesson when I realized that. It's like, okay, every era has its style, it's just you can't see it at the time. Yeah. So I mean, I wonder if there is going to be a bit of a Starlight Express Xanadu type effect to it, where we're going to look back on it at some point and be like, this is dated really badly.
But then, like, do you still enjoy the stuff from the 90s that you enjoyed then? Like, I think the people who grew up with it, I think there'll be a warm nostalgia for this film.
Definitely, yeah, and I think that's the case with things like Xanadu, Starlight Express, my go-to examples there, where the people who were contemporary to them very much still enjoy them, and somewhat unironically, it's not like they're kind of like watching. Like I could probably watch Xanadu and be like, "That's hilarious! Look at all the silly disco stuff." Yeah, we
went
did
to see Xanadu,
live.
yeah.
We did. That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Great enjoy.
Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Rachel. They're not listening. Anyway.
I wouldn't have expected them to.
No. But I would think that, I would think absolutely, we'll probably still look back on this and be like, oh, I remember that. That was good. But I wonder if future generations who didn't grow up with it would be like, oh man, that's so 2010s. Yeah,
probably. But I can also see, okay, right. I'm trying to think of an example right now. Thinks through plays that have me right now. I can see a generation that's like 16 now going to a not Broadway, but like a play revival of this in like 20 years with their kids.
Yeah, definitely.
So any time between now and 2038, I could see this becoming and given the way things work now, probably sooner, becoming a musical that will be put on live for an audience that remembers it fondly as a film.
Yep, I can definitely see that.
And maybe going, and then it becomes a touchstone for another generation. That's how things, it'll be reorchestrated, I suppose, so it's a bit less 2010s poppy, but the messages are still valid.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. Yeah, no, I'm talking purely about the kind of surface style of it rather than the deeper, meaningful stuff. So, yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's, I don't know, I can see it being an intergenerational kind of touchstone. Not a wildly important one, but one people remember.
Yeah. So. No, but so to kind of go back to something I mentioned in downsizing, since I had that moment of oh, I think I'm going to hate this, and then I was into it, and then the more I've thought about it, kind of like the less I want to see it again, and the less I've kind of liked it. Really, I mean, I haven't gone to the point of like disliking it, because I'd still like to live in a world where it's not just everything's love and hate. I try not to live in that world, but
that's what you've got to do. That's what you've got to do. You got to either love something or hate something. You got to be crazy about it. You really got to hate it. It's the age we live in.
It is, but my fondness for it has dwindled somewhat since. But maybe if I saw it again, I would feel differently. I don't know. It could just be my distance from it. I've as time's gone on, I've just been like, I could be fine never seeing that again.
Interesting. I would not necessarily say the opposite, but I felt once I was into downsizing, I was watching it quite keenly.
Yeah.
And I would watch it again, obviously, but I don't know whether I would watch it. I definitely wouldn't go back to cinema to watch it again.
No,
and I probably. Whereas I can imagine going back to see Greatest Showman again before it finishes its run.
Okay.
Sometime in the summer, probably, if it keeps going.
Keeps going at this rate, yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of recapture the moments of it I really did like, and the ones that I felt like, although very superficial, did get me, and I can see myself doing that in the next couple of weeks if I've got time.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, because I did like it, but yeah, I can't imagine after that, other than maybe watching part of it on television, I can't imagine myself returning to it again.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I like both these films. I saw 3 films this week, and it's a giant toss-up to see which one was the best.
Okay, what was the other one?
Phantom Thread, with Paul Thomas Anderson film, who was the man I was confusing in my head with Alexander Payne earlier on when I thought I'd got that wrong.
Oh, okay.
Who did sort of There Will Be Blood and Punch Drunk Love and stuff.
The most recent interviewee guest on the Adam Buxton podcast.
Really?
Yeah, it just came out yesterday, I believe. So I'd started to listen to it, but I haven't gotten into. Only just gotten into his interview, with him, or his discussion with him. So yeah, they were talking about Johnny Greenwood at the time, because I think Johnny Greenwood's done a lot of music for him.
Sorry about that. I just dropped a thing down there.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, no, Johnny Greenwood up for an Oscar nom for the score for Phantom Thread.
Right.
After being cruelly denied one for There Will Be Blood because part of it was recorded before the film was made.
Oh, that sucks.
Which was a technicality, so
No,
That was a searing score, like real painful score.
Yeah, he's really managed to leverage his career from Radiohead into a pretty good film score career, and the stuff that I've heard he's done is truly fantastic.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, Phantom Thread is good and surprisingly hilarious. I laughed quite a lot through
oh, good. Okay, maybe I have to
even
check,
though
try
not
and
in
find
the
that.
way you would expect.
Okay.
Don't think it's funny. Going
No,
into it,
no,
but
no, no.
there's a lot of laughs to be had.
Mm.
But no, out of those three, like all in different ways, I kind of needed all of them this week. And yeah, I don't know which I would call the best, really.
Hard to compare them
Because
in terms of
they were,
like,
I feel they were all pretty good.
disparate in terms of genres, though.
Oh Jesus Christ, yeah, but all very singular visions. Actually, I suppose not necessarily. I suppose Greatest Showman isn't as much of a kind of authored vision, but it's definitely what they plan to make.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like like a passion piece in that way, a passion project type thing, because it does seem like Hugh Jackman has a lot of love for this film, and
Just likes top hats and red coats.
He does.
Just any film that allows him to have a top hat and a red coat.
Well, I mean, and he's got his body shape is such that he kind of looks good in anything as well, and so I mean, he just still looks like giant Wolverine man in this. So I don't think P.T. Barnum was quite as stacked.
As it was going along, it was clear that different parts of it were different parts of the sort of come down from Logan, because his hair and body shape were all over the shop.
Oh,
Hence
really?
the one shot where he looked like Squidward. Sometimes his face was quite wide, like he was kind of clearly underneath the thing. He was beefy, and his sideburns and his hair changed colour a lot.
Oh, okay.
And things like that. It's just random little things I noticed. They don't spoil my enjoyment, but I can't not notice them. So I guess bits of this were filmed here, there, and everywhere if they did some reshoots.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, it was occasionally it was. But every time he took the hat off, his hair was perfect.
Yes, that's true.
So and I like Zac Efron in it as well. I'm undeniably at this point. I have to say I'm a Zac Efron fan, which is
good.
embarrassing. But
no, he's good. I mean, but it's only embarrassing because of how he started off in the business. You know, the High School Musical things. Yes. So, but like I said earlier on, it wasn't until the end credits I was like, "That's Zac Efron," because I don't think I've seen anything that he's been in since he became a man. I think I've only ever seen clips of shit that he was in when he was a child. So,
I have. I can't remember. There was one year, whether it was 2015 or not. I'll look it up. Where I had to. That was when I first acknowledged. Like, I have to. At this point, I have to say I'm a fan because I'd been to see 3 Zac Efron films that year.
Nice.
Not all of them good, but I enjoyed each one. Let me put. But he's a good, like, modern star, if that makes sense.
He is. Yeah. He's a decent actor. So.
He doesn't seem to be a horrible piece of shit.
No. Okay, so are we done on Showman? Is there anything else you want to talk about that? I think we covered a fair amount of it, but I feel
I feel like we didn't really talk about it at all.
No.
Yeah, I think we did.
No. We talked about kind of like
yeah.
everything surrounding it, I suppose, rather than more about the content of it. But, the content of it is singing and dancing, so...
Singing and dancing. Two of the best things.
I thought there was some pretty good performances in it. I thought that I liked the bearded lady. She clearly has a very good voice, but it was almost a bit too much on the screechy side for my liking.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was clearly very powerful and very well controlled, but there was just the force behind it just made it a little bit jarring. But I thought she was an excellent performer. One performance that I did notice that was kind of more of a background performance was the super tattooed guy with the beard was like a phenomenally good dancer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you watch it again, watch for him in the background of some of the scenes. He's just the man moves like it's nothing. It's pretty impressive. But yeah, it was. I enjoyed a lot of that stuff. It was good. It was enjoyable.
I liked the lady who played the Queen. She made me laugh because she looked nothing like the Queen, and I liked her guffaw when. I thought the Zendaya and Zac Efron romance was really surface level, but I really liked the way it was played, just like with the hands touching each other and everything.
Yeah.
And then the stuff with his parents when she was in that ridiculous dress.
Yes.
Just trying to think if there's anything else we haven't touched on that I really liked. No, I don't think. I think we hit most of it. But yeah, no, I like I say, I liked it for everything it was without delving too deep into what other people are criticizing it for.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's not perfect, but I greatly enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it as well. I mean, but like I said, with the caveat of the fact that I've kind of cooled on it a little bit since I saw it. But maybe another
interesting
week
to see
would
if I
cure me of
do.
that. Yeah.
So I just found it, like I say, quite helpful and stuff. The audience thing, if you want me to do that before we
Yes,
close.
let's do that.
So there was it's the only screening where I've seen adults and children dance their way out of the auditorium afterwards.
Oh.
And but there was what really got me was there was these couple of there was a family basically that gone to see it. And they had a daughter who was in a wheelchair, and they had two boys who would just bounce around the cinema like nobody's business, dancing and whatnot. And the little girl started dancing with them in the wheelchair, like she was driving the wheelchair around, like, and they were all going around in circles and stuff, and just dancing as "This Is Me" played again
on the credits.
And it's it's the IMAX, so it's this fucking huge screen.
Yeah,
and they're going around in a big gap from the front row where she had to sit with a wheelchair through to the thing. They were all just charging around on that. And then there was there was a couple of girls who I guess would have been in their early 20s who danced their way out as well when they went and stuff. And I was just sat there just taking in the music, and I was kind of like, I just started crying at it all. Just seeing this little girl just charge around in a wheelchair, just having loved it and probably having seen something of representation in it.
Yeah, that's really really touching.
It really was. It really was. So I had a little cry, and and eventually the parents were kind of like, "Come on, you fuckers," you know.
Yeah. Come on, you bloody cripple.
Dragged them all. And dragged them all out, and then just really got me.
That's lovely. I like that. Okay, that's nice.
Really, really weird sort of audience cross section stuff this week.
Yeah.
And Phantom Thread was busy as well. That was an older audience, and only some of them were laughing. Only some of them were realizing that it was funny.
Okay.
Which was telling about some of the jokes in there. But
there's a film that I would see somewhat recently that happened in where there were a couple of laugh moments and I got a look.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was literally kind of a turnaround and a kind of like a somewhat indignant, like, why are you laughing? That's not funny kind of look. And it was like, no, that's a funny moment, but I can't remember what it was. Damn it, I wish I could.
And he never did remember, so I thought I'd cut it off there. I forgot to mention this in the open, but I'm currently sat in one of the parks in Oxford where the Gifford Circus is currently playing, which is what you can hear in the background. And I thought I'd just record it here with the music and the cheers of the crowd going off, and hopefully no clowns walking by while I'm here, because I don't like them. I never did. But the circus itself promises to be wilder and more magical than ever. So I'll probably just leave it playing for a while for you. Catch you next week, everyone.